How you doing? And welcome to Neither Real Music. I'm Ed and this is Just Play It. If you've been following along, we have been working on My Way of Frank Sinatra fame. We're going to be looking at measures 17 through 24, which will include the second ending. So if you haven't learned the first part of this song, I highly recommend going there and starting from the beginning. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe and ring the bell so that you know when your next lesson is coming. So let's take a look at these next measures. Starting at measure 17, we are at the beginning of our second ending. So measures 17 and 18 include the second ending to the first part of the song. So we're going to be getting to this, best way to describe it is an A7 style chord. I have C, G, and A. Now, I'm going to play this as a bar. And we have to play this for 4 beats. 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to go to an inversion of our G chords. So we're going to have the notes B, D, and G here on our 5th position. So measure 17 is our A7 chord, barred. And then we're moving up to our 5th fret to an inverted G chord over B. Now the next 3 notes that are in triplet are actually a setup for what's coming next. Now these are 3 shell chords. The first shell chord being C major 7. From there we're going to move to D minor 7. And from here we're going to move to G major 7. So for our C7 shell chord, we have C, E, and B. For our D minor 7 shell chord, we have D, C, and, D, F sharp, and C. And the G7 is our notes F sharp, our note F sharp. Underneath that, the note B, and then D. So you can also call this B minor chord, B, D, and F sharp. But in context, it's supposed to be as if you barred this with the G bass note. So because my next note is a G major chord for measure number 19, I'm going to continue calling this a G major 7 chord because if a bass player were playing along to this or a keyboard player were playing along to this, they wouldn't play it as a B minor chord. They would play it as a G major 7 chord. So we go through this triplet of shell chords. In the music, you could see it as quarter notes. But if you want to make them staccato quarter notes, that's up to you. This is just a suggestion. So the arrangement here is meant to be followed, but it really is only a suggestion. So measures 17, our A7 chord, to our G chord. Now our triplet to get us started. Now when we get to measure 19, we start our melodic ideas again. There are melodies in here. This is, the when he says, my way. So as we go through here, that's a melody. Now, this section is a little tricky because you state a chord and then you play a piece of a melody starting on the end of 3 most of the time. There is one of these where you do start just on the note, on the beat 3. So when you do these, you want to keep a count in your head of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Now what I'm doing here is I'm playing the notes E, D, C sharp while trying to hold the top part of my G chord. So from here we're going to go to an inverted D minor 7 chord. So we have the notes F, A, and D. You can just call it a D minor chord. Once again, if you had other instruments playing, it would end up being a D minor 7. And then what I'm going to do is use this G note as an intermediate bass note. Almost like I am stating like a G9 type of chord. But really it's just a good bass note, a good passing tone. Now this happens on beat 3, so we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have our melody. Now you want to try to keep this bass note ringing. And all I'm doing is returning the way I came. C sharp, D, E. Okay, so we go from our G chord, which is measures number 19. This is measure 20, our D minor chord. Now from here, we're going to make an E minor chord. The reason I know it's an E minor chord is because it's the same shape as my D minor chord. So I have F, A, D here, and in this position I will have G, B, and E here. So it's a great little shell chord movement or full triad movement back and forth. Okay? Now this one, we start the melody on B3, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and D, D, E, D. So, beginning of our second ending, A7 chord, G chord, D major 7, D minor 7, D major 7, G, D minor, E minor. So that's measures 17, 18, 19, 20, I believe 21. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So from here we're going to bar a little C chord with our index finger because we're going to start moving up the neck of the guitar to follow that idea that the end of this song has where it keeps getting grander and grander, like the note keeps getting higher and higher. So we have our C chord. So our melody is the notes E, F sharp, G. And every time we do this, we're trying to keep the chord ringing as long as possible. Now this can also be done with a pick in a lot of cases. Little strum to get everything going. Whether you use your fingers or a pick is up to you. There are some parts of this song that work better with one versus the other, but everything can be done together. Now from here we're going to go to another type of A7 chord, I have the notes A, C, and G. Okay, so from the C chord we have we're going to do E, G, E, but with the A7 chord. And then we're going to move up to a D major chord. So we're going to end right here, because that brings us all the way to measure 24. This section of the song isn't nearly as complicated as the prior sections of the song. So there's not as much reason to go over each section in a small amount. There's just enough information in each measure that it should be pretty easy for you to figure them out. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to play everything with a little bit of time and a tab, and give you a chance to try to play along with me, and then this way you can see what's going on and follow along. So let's try that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try that with a little bit of tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're playing along and practicing for yourself, understand that there is a little bit of liberty taken with the timing for this song. Sometimes the eighth notes after the chords sound like straight eighth notes, and sometimes they'll sound more like triplets. We call this idea stealing time. This is a really common practice where as long as the beat is consistent in your song, you have a little bit of leeway to get things right. You could make it a triplet, you can make it a set of eighth notes, you can adjust the rhythm where you take away time from one beat and give it to another. Now, do this with a little bit of discretion, because this could also lead to doing a little too much and making the song sound inconsistent. I really hope lessons like this are helping you become a better player. This video is a little bit shorter than the prior two because there's a lot less stuff that I need to go in detail about. If you could, consider going to my Patreon, where even a donation of $1 could start helping me create more content for people to enjoy and learn from. Please remember to subscribe, ring the bell so you know when your next lesson is. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Compliments are nice, but questions let me know that you're working on these things. Good luck and good practice.